Warning! The following video is a retrospective, not just a review. That means complete and utter spoilers for the game, the story, and especially the ending. But if you're coming here from the far future of the Divinity game series, welcome! I can understand you may not have the time to play a 40-plus hour game to see the entire series after playing one of the more recent games. Don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video, we'll cover the story, the gameplay, and the lore of the second game in the Divinity series, Beyond Divinity. Please enjoy and catch up on the story. 2 years after the release of the relatively well-received Divine Divinity, Larian Studios produced a sequel called Beyond Divinity. This is, again, a stupid title since the game has nothing to do with either the Divine One or going beyond being divine.
To go even further beyond!
Given the game's content, a better title would have been something like Divinity Beyond Rivellon, since it takes place in another dimension. I don't know what's wrong with this series and its terrible titles. Anyway, enough poking fun, let's take a look at it. The word of the day is certainly improvement, and I really mean that. Everything that was good before is now great, and everything that sucked was made better than before. I really mean it. The developers must have been handing out surveys to their players because I was pleasantly surprised that just about all my complaints were seen to. The menus are better than before, just for starters. Before you had to open up 3 or 4 little boxes to see all your items and your character's information. Now it's one big, elegant window that shows you everything you need all at the same time. I love it. It's laid out like an old-fashioned D&D character sheet. Character creation takes a big step up too. It allows you to select different body types, hair colors, faces, portraits, and genders. Though I am pretty sure child is not a gender. Either way, this is a great improvement from picking one of only 6 characters. Want to be a fat wizard? You can. Want to be a skinny warrior lady? Go for it. You can do that. This time around, the classes are a little more meaningful. You don't just get access to everything from the start. The new skill system is intimidating to look at first, but it's actually very thorough and satisfying to play with. It's not just you clicking a box saying, I want that, and then suddenly having it. The game makes you go to a skill master, pay money, and then you have that skill at your disposal to put points into. I like that. It made more sense than magically knowing everything like in the first game. The new environments are a joy to run around in. Long gone is the cookie-cutter medieval Western Europe setting from the first game. We're on an alien world with strange animals, strange people and cultures, and even bizarre plant life. I had a blast just running around looking at all the cool stuff that couldn't be found on Rivellon. The crystalline landscapes, the hellish battlefields, or even the architecture in dungeons. It was all great and exciting. Serious effort went into making a new place to explore, and I'd never seen anything like it before. Big points for all the work that went into the unique setting. I feel like more effort went into this game as a whole. We're not just some random hero that wakes up with amnesia and then have to go save the world because we're the chosen one or some crap like that. The story itself is one of survival and desperation, and it really shines when compared with the first game's plot. Now, all that praise said, let's get into the story. As per usual with a review like this, spoilers ahead. This game is over a decade old, so much like the first game, I don't think anybody will really mind. I am going to completely give it all away though, so you've been warned. Larian Studios decided to try something new with Beyond Divinity and published a short novella with the game. There's a 20-year span between the first and second games, so this covers what happened then. Rhianna Pratchett's Child of the Chaos reads like a badly written fan fiction, but this ain't exactly Game of Thrones, so I'll cut her some slack. It's 55 pages long, but I can sum it up in a few paragraphs.
Prepare for exposition!
The Divine One, now named Lucian, raises Damien, the baby he found on the altar at the end of Divine Divinity. He starts up a farm, starts an order of paladins to fight the Black Ring, and takes up a peaceful life in the farmlands of Rivellon. Damien's a good kid for the most part, always under the watchful eye of his father to make sure he's not exposed to the Black Ring's influence. Eventually, he grows up to be a talented young paladin himself, always hungering to learn more despite his father holding him back in the area of magic. Like any other young man, Damien gets a girlfriend named Yagurna and falls deeply in love. Lucian does some digging about the girl and finds out that she's an agent of the Black Ring, and she knows exactly who Damien is. Not wanting Damien's demonic heritage to come to light, Lucian interrogates and then executes her in a public ceremony with his paladins. Damien arrives just in time to see her head roll and flees. A week later, Damien comes into contact with the Black Ring cult, learns of his demonic destiny, and quickly rises to become their new leader. Swearing vengeance, he leads his new army against his adoptive father, the Divine One. Lucian, having no other choice, lures Damien to a special temple filled with doorways to other worlds called rifts. Pulling him through a random rift to a world called Nemesis, he puts a divine curse on the boy so that he can never return to Rivellon unless he or one of his followers explicitly allows him to do so. Stranded, and now with amnesia, Damien wanders helplessly until he comes across the Renar, a local alien race. They specialize in rift running to walk between worlds. They take pity on Damien and teach him their ways since he is lost and alone. Damien rises to be one of the most talented rift runners the Renar Academy has ever seen, but his curse prevents him from returning home to Rivellon. Once his memory returns to him, he kills his teachers and unleashes demon hordes from the other worlds unto Nemesis. Normally, the demons are held back by a special crystal that keeps the demonic energy at bay, but with the crystal shattered, the demons not only flood onto Nemesis, but they're indestructible, since they can draw upon the freely flowing power from other worlds. The demon hordes sweep over the planet, destroying the Renar Temple and eventually overtaking the Academy. The daughter of the Elder Renar, Anne Lokam, makes a deal with an archdemon to drive the demonic armies away from the Academy in exchange for herself. He takes her, and the Academy is still standing as promised, but everyone inside is dead. Damien, meanwhile, vanishes in his efforts to try and find a way back to Rivellon, ruling over the prison dimension that Nemesis has become.
Boring, this is so boring, this is so boring, get to the show.
Survive.
Sorry for that block of backstory. I didn't think a novel was a good idea to release with a game, but there it is. So we're all on the same page now. We actually start off the game with the narration that a group of the Divine One's paladins is chasing down a necromancer from the Black Ring. He summons up an archdemon called Samuel to slaughter them all, and Samuel keeps one as a trophy to torture in his citadel. Samuel's habit is always to leave one victim alive so he can do terrible things to him or her for entertainment. So we open up with this.
Oh, you are awake, finally!
Whoa, dude, you can't just throw that voice at me. You gotta prepare me first. You can't just pitch me into bad voice acting like that.
Do not shrink from me, human! I hear your fear! I thought Samuel had robbed me of speech forever, but it seems this curse allows us to read each other's thoughts. Your fragile body has endured much pain.
Oh, I gotta hand it to you, sir. I thought your presentation was just wonderful.
But you have shown great strength. You wouldn't have been Fergus's first victim, nor his last, I'll wager. But if you had fallen, the curse would have killed us both.
But yeah, this is the voice you're going to be hearing for most of the game. This is Death Knight, since he refuses to tell you his name, and he's been soul-forged to you. You apparently made an escape attempt off-screen and slipped past this guy, so Samuel bound your souls together as a sort of ironic torture punishment. If one of you dies, you both die, and if you wander too far apart from one another, you also both die. So you're basically chained. Yeah, exactly. Nice cover art, by the way. Way better than the first game. Props. So you and your new companion, Death Knight, must find a way to escape Samuel's Citadel of Torture and track down his former mistress, Isolde. I was pretty confused after finishing this game since Isolde is nowhere in the game. What he means to say is Yagurna from the book. Something got lost in translation somewhere, so Yagurna in the game is called Isolde. And if you remember, that woman was Damien's love. So yeah, guess who Death Knight is? Yeah, exactly. So, DK here was one of her loyal servants at one point, according to him, and she lives on Rivellon. So if you can get back to Rivellon, she can get this curse off of you. Isolde apparently is powerful enough to remove Samuel's Soulforge curse, so you head out to make it so. This game is neatly arranged into 4 acts, and the Citadel is the first act. You run around the blood-stained hallways, torture rooms, and tunnels for ages. I've got to say, this was my favorite part of the game. It all feels so hopeless, scrounging for gear and potions, praying you don't run into Samuel or any other Death Knights, killing guards. It's amazing. Major points to Larian Studios for selling me on the feeling of dread this place has. When you reach the upper floors, you come across Samuel's army, which is completely human for some reason. There's no demons around. One of my complaints from the last game is addressed here, as both men and women are equally represented in terms of both good and evil. Nice to see the ladies running around in the world too, not just the men. Anyway, since you're running around with a Death Knight, they think you're a new recruit, so you can run around among them without worrying. They even give you sub-quests so you can earn some extra loot and XP. It's interesting to see a culture like this flourishing in such a hellish landscape, but that's exactly what Nemesis is. It's been like this since Damien unleashed the demonic hordes, so they really don't know any different. It's a little twisted. So you make it to the top floor, or the ground floor, rather, you've been underground all this time, looting as you go and trying to avoid other Death Knights.
This is the patrol area. Heed well my warning about the patrols, human. Avoid any contact, or we might as well throw ourselves onto their swords.
They're not fooled by your hapless wandering around pretending to be a new recruit, so you have to try and sneak around them. If you think 2 to 1 are good odds, don't. Even on the easiest difficulty setting, these guys hit like trucks, and you better have a stack of potions a mile high if you want to fight one of these guys directly. All blades perish who try to pierce these Shadow Kings. And since I built my character to be an archer, it really didn't help against their plate mail. At about the 8 or 10 hour mark, you finally reach Samuel, pretty much by accident, and you get ready to take him on.
Welcome to your tomb, my friends. It's a shame you're gonna die, really. You were quite entertaining for a while. You've been watching us? Did you really think you would be able to go through my citadel unnoticed? How amusing. Pathetic creature. You hid behind others instead of confronting us yourself. Ha 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 ha! I particularly liked it when you gave the guard the rum. Good thinking. I gave him a quick swim in the lava, of course, just to cure his hangover. And you, servant of goodness, how did it feel being bonded to such an evil creature? You can't fight a demon, human. The barrier between this world and the demonic dimension was destroyed. Thus, the life force of demons is now in a state of constant regeneration. Enough! It's time to return to your cells, sub-creatures. But first, I will teach you a new lesson in pain.
But, as luck would have it, Samuel is summoned away before he can beat your head in.
But wait! What is... No! No! Not now! This can't be! I'm called... No! Guards! Take care of the prisoners! Don't let them escape!
As ordered, Your Excellency. They will await your return. From inside a cell.
No matter how powerful, if a demon is called, he must obey as long as the spell is active. Before he goes, he sicks 5 Death Knights on you all at the same time. Thankfully, I had a good stack of potions with me, and I simply outlasted them. When they're all dead, you can grab the keys and loot Samuel's vaults. It's here that you run across one of my biggest problems with this game: the battlefield keys. This game has a set of side areas called battlefields. A battlefield is basically a pocket dimension with some merchants, a handful of side quests, and some randomly generated dungeons to explore. They contribute nothing to the game, they don't move the story forward, and are literally just an excuse for you to go grind monsters and money for a while. This extends the life of the game artificially, and it just feels like busy work. I hated these damn things, but you have to do them in order to progress because you need the XP and the loot to get anywhere. The story basically stops while you go grind levels, explore dungeons that don't mean anything in the context of the game, and waste your damn time trying to get an extra level up or two. I hate this. Fuck your busy work. I got better things to do. I had more fun playing Dot Hack Sign doing the exact same thing. It's just too much content that's been randomly generated. Just look. You find a battle key. You go into a pocket dimension away from the rest of the game with a randomly generated dungeon where you may or may not get randomly generated loot, good or bad, and where you may or may not get to fight a strong monster at the end. I'm pretty sure there are 20 or so battlefield keys, one for each dungeon in one of the 4 battlefields. I found 12 of them, and I'm sorry that I did. Each one represents an hour or 3 of random, non-story-driven busy work that I just do not care to do. Not only that, but the battlefields host merchants, and since you can go to battlefields anytime you want, you can repair, buy potions, get things identified, and sell loot any time during the game. You can literally stop in the middle of a dungeon and go to a completely safe location to buy and sell things whenever you want. Never worry about running out of potions, just stop where you are and buy some. Never worry about having too much stuff on your person, sell stuff at your leisure. Never worry about your gear breaking. Teleport to these people, then teleport right back to where you were at absolutely no cost. What happened to towns? Auction houses, trading ships, anything? The main reason you go into town in any RPG is to buy and sell loot, and this completely removes the need for any form of civilization. What the hell is wrong with you, Larian? Anyway, you make it out of Samuel's Citadel and to the outside world of Nemesis.
This place was originally inhabited by the Renar, arrogant blue creatures that worship Ron. I remembered that their elders practiced grift running, which is all about opening doorways to other worlds. Our problem was, of course, that the demons had been very successful in wiping them out. One particular demon wasn't happy at all, something I could relate to. Having to do the bidding of a mere necromancer isn't a barrel of laughs, especially for a demon overlord such as Samuel. But it turned out to be a stroke of luck for us. The paladin might not be my ideal companion, but at least I was still alive, something I hadn't expected given the task of escaping from the Citadel. My companion deserved some credit for that. Besides, I was curious to see how my new soulmate would deal with Nemesis.
The second act of the game involves helping the imps. If you remember the imps from the first game, there were only 1 or 2 that you could actually talk to, and they sounded like this.
Mistress, this imp think burden too big and mistress is far away. What's this and see other imps point?
See, this imp say all imps go now.
Yeah! Far from dark mistresses! Far from dragons! Let's go find Red for lunch. Yeah!
Well, they're not much better here on Nemesis.
Who are you? I thought a Imp Village was just a rumor.
Would you like to do me a favor? I not ask much. Oh no, I not. Just small task.
This is the part where the game's true colors come out. The Imp Village is basically a quest hub. Since there's no day and night cycle, you can run around as much as you want and collect subquests. Since the imps don't trust you much yet, what better way to get them to like you than to do all their busy work for them? Now, I don't mind this as much as the battlefields. Here I'm affecting a group of people, building subplots and learning about their culture. Fine, I can dig it. The imps are experiencing a plague of sorts and they don't know what to do about it.
Are you a healer? My skin burns.
Their village alchemist has been banished by their local religious leader because reasons, and the chieftain is at a loss. The imps do claim to know a way off-world, so if you agree to cure the plague that's on them, they'll show you a way off Nemesis. The imp shaman, the local religious leader, is actually being driven mad by a crystal shard that he saw fall out of the sky. Turns out that this crystal shard is a piece of the Renar Interworld Protection Crystal. The imp shaman can't be saved and you have to put him down like the power-hungry vermin that he is, but this paves the way for the alchemist to return and cure the plague. Of course, he sends you to get all the components he needs for the job, but that's fine. We're making progress here. God knows I got tired of running around doing all the subquests for the imps in the meantime. You can only take so much of those squeaky voices. Anyway, the crystal shards become a subplot, and no, you can't collect 7 to become a super paladin, though that would make this game the funnest damn thing ever. However, you are summoned several times by a black ring necromancer who's collecting the pieces of the crystal. It's the same one you were chasing at the beginning of the game. He's under the impression that the crystal is just a powerful artifact he can use to gain more power. But really, that's what was holding the demons away from Nemesis and other worlds. Since the necromancer summons you with magic, you have to do what he says or drop dead instantly from disobeying the laws of magic. Sort of like how Samuel was summoned away right as you barged into his throne room. You get a bunch of short missions that take place in recognizable places in Rivellon, only for the summoning spell to end each time you pick up the shard. So you cure the imps of their plague and they get ready to tell you how to get off-world, only for things to be interrupted by Samuel's demon horde slaughtering the whole town looking for you. This is off-screen, of course, and another imp shows you a way to safety.
Being summoned by that jumped-up corpse molester was one of the most unpleasant things to have happened to me. I only hope I meet him again under different circumstances. I knew, however, that searching for the crystal fragments would be the key to our escape. It lifted my spirits somewhat to be closing in on the Renar. Given the carnage that the demons had caused among them, they had reason enough to be hostile towards strangers. Yet, to us, they weren't. I was convinced we'd find a way to make them cooperate, and my companion was proving to be more resourceful than I had imagined. Asmodeus' invitation troubled me somewhat. He was reputed to be a mean, sadistic, and unreliable creature, but that was common of many demons. Not that I had anything against that, I just didn't relish being the focus of his attention. I only hoped my companion was going to keep showing signs of intelligence.
The archdemon Asmodeus catches you and forces you into a game of riddles. His motives are pretty shrouded, and he's not about to tell Samuel where you are, and he seems pretty content to play game show host for you. If you answer his riddles correctly, he gives you Anne Locum, the daughter of the Renar Elder.
May I introduce Elder Amlupal? She is the daughter of the High Elder Renar, and my honored guest, since I helped her protecting the Academy.
You tricked me, demon. I agreed to be your prisoner if you prevented the demon hordes from destroying the Academy.
And? Didn't I fulfill my part of the bargain? The attackers were driven out of the Academy, weren't they?
Yes, they were. But you resurrected the slaughtered Academy inhabitants as ghosts. Now they're cursed to haunt this building for all eternity.
You see, Hero, in the beginning she was quite entertaining. But now, I have enough of her constant rants. I understand you're looking for some of the Renar to help you leave this world. Let me give you this doll as a present. How uncharacteristically generous of you! Phantoma Gringruruk Balazar! Here you go, human. Your present.
For his own amusement, Asmodeus turns her into a summoning doll and puts her in your inventory. I didn't specialize in summoning doll magic, so she's not especially useful as is. I just sort of left her in my inventory to gather dust, since she can only take 1 or 2 hits before just reverting back to doll form. Since the imps can't help you, being dead and all, you and Death Knight decide that Anne Locum would be the next best thing to get you back to Rivellon. She's the daughter of a Renar Riftrunner Elder and a talented Riftrunner herself. Well, you'd know that if you read the book, but your characters here wouldn't. So, you need to find a way to get the curse off her so she can send you home. The third act of the game opens up in a massive area. Get used to this one because you're going to be here for ages running subquests and meaningless side missions. There are 2 factions here, the Renar Rebellion, who are hidden until you stumble over them and do a ton of subquests to make them like you, and the Lord of Chaos's army base. The base was built on top of a Raynar temple, so it acts as the closest thing to a normal town this game's alien landscape has to offer. I like it. This portion of the game is pointlessly long and drawn out, though. The story just kind of stops for about 10 hours while you run around doing errands, doing side quests for random people, and uncovering all the corners of the map just looking for things to do to try and progress the story. In order to get the curse off of the Ann Locum doll, you need to get into the inner sanctum of what's left of the Raynar Temple. You can't get into the main church to see the Black Bishop and reach the inner sanctum without, you guessed it, doing a bunch of sub-quests. Everybody in the Chaos Army base has a rank, and in order to increase your rank, you have to run around doing deeds for everyone.
Important notice for all temple members. As most of you have heard by now, an expedition party that was sent out to look for signs for the Damned One has been missing for a few weeks. The temple is looking for adventurers to find them in exchange for a rank increase. Don't forget to regularly check your rank with the Keeper of the Ranks. You might be number 1 without even knowing it.
None of these quests have anything to do with the plot, have any interesting rewards beyond XP, and just felt like more busy work. Hours and hours went by, I'm not kidding, of doing subquests that have nothing to do with anything. I started to miss Divine Divinity at this point. That game had a sense of exploration and mystery. If you wanted to stop and help somebody, you could, or you could just keep wandering down the road and follow the main story plot. Not in this game. Now all those little quests that are usually extra content are mandatory. And a mandatory subquest is just freaking boring. It's busy work and I don't like it. So you do a bunch more subquests for the Chaos Army base inhabitants and eventually become the top ranking soldier so you can see the Black Bishop in the church.
I just filled in the book. You're now the highest rank in our community. Congratulations. You now have access to the church and our bishop, if you wish.
Turns out he can't get into the inner sanctum either. You have to go find a power staff to open the way and then you can go in. The bishop realizes you're not really with Damien's Chaos Army and fights you in the catacombs.
So here you are. I had hoped I would find you before you reach the inner sanctuary. I had a most interesting talk with Samuel. He contacted me telepathically and told me a few things about you, servant of the light. Did you really think you could come down here and help this primitive goddess overpower the Lord of Chaos? And you are helping him, Death Knight? You're a disgrace to your kind. Let's finish this, old codger. You think you can beat me because you're in your prime and I'm old and helpless? Well, guess again, my friends.
Only to drop about 10,000 arrows when he dies. That really caught me off guard, but I liked it since my character was an archer. I mean, wow. I guess I really can't complain for better loot than a ton of every arrow type in the entire game. So you go down to have the curse removed, going through a simple dungeon of trials to make sure you understand the Raynar ways. Ann Locum is released from her doll curse and tells you that if you want to go back to Rivellon, you have to go to the Raynar Rift Running Academy. By now you've collected all the crystal shards of the Interworld Protection Crystal and killed the necromancer that keeps summoning you against your will. With the crystal reformed and orange, for some reason, you seal off all the worlds so that demons are no longer invincible on Nemesis.
You were successful? Yes, I see you have the crystal. Bringing the crystal back to the temple means that this room will close the connection between this and the demonic world. For the first time since this war began, the demons have actually been weakened. It may take some time, but my people will eventually come back to this world and reclaim it. Thanks to you, human. I've already sealed the catacombs and this chamber, so only a Rift Runner will be able to enter or leave it. You have done what you promised, so I will help you now. Your wish is to permanently leave this world, yes? There's only one place where this can be accomplished. The chamber of my father at the top level of the Academy. The Academy is still cursed, but with this rune stone the ghost will not attack you on sight. I don't know what other dangers might await you there, but you are a great hero, and I'm sure you will overcome them. I will open a rift which leads near to the Academy gates. Be careful, the gate is guarded, and even though the demons can be defeated now, it won't necessarily be an easy task. Farewell, human, and Ron be with you.
Meanwhile, Samuel rages against Asmodeus for letting you get away.
Haven't you heard? They're after the crystal! The crystal! Get it? They have to be stopped! You want to die?
You know, I'm rather bored with this omnipotent business. I think I'd relish the challenge, Sammy.
You're insane, Asmodeus! I'm staying on their trail, even if you've grown bored of playing with them. And if I'll find them, well, fighting is so much more fun if there's no risk to yourself.
Good hunting, Sammy.
Now we come to the fourth and final chapter of the game, and it sucks. It sucks so hard. But before we go into the Raynar Academy, I want you to take a nice long look at the Raynar themselves, up close. Yeah, that's what I thought. Looks like Larian isn't done borrowing off of Blizzard's fame and fortune just yet. It's a little too close, if you know what I mean. Anyway, that aside, the Academy awaits. The Raynar ghosts are all confused, referring to you as Damien and treating you like you're their star student. This allows you to run around the Academy grounds without being stopped. This is also where every last bit of fun the game had just evaporates. You have to get up to the High Elder's room to get back to Rivellon, and of course you can't just take the stairs or a teleporter. The Academy is a twisted tower of maintenance tunnels, door and switch puzzles, mazes, and tests. Yes, you have to take tests at the Academy. This means learning their 16 philosophy rules, performing summonings, performing advanced summonings, and so on. You have to raid the library for summoning books, decode them since you can't read them properly, then follow their instructions. I was here for 5 or 6 god-forsaken hours just trying to figure out what floor I was supposed to be on, which Raynar ghost to talk to, and why. I hated this. There's very little to fight here, and the plot just stops while you take all the exams and tests. It just hurts my head. You know what happened to me the last time I had to cram for a test in college? Yeah, that was me running around in this fucking place. The last quarter of the game is exactly 0 fun, while you learn to be a Rift Runner from square one in order to get to the top floor. If I wanted to go to magic school, I'd play a fucking Harry Potter game. And did I mention more mandatory subquests? This place is basically a giant clusterfuck full of puzzles, side tunnels, and lots of extra reading. Combat happens now and then to make sure you have a pulse, and that's about it. You're in school now, and don't you forget it. I was at the end of my rope by the time I got to the top of the Raynar Academy. You talk to an elder on the top floor who says all is ready. All you have to do is go over and get Damien's summoning wand in the next room. Remember, the ghosts think you're Damien, and your coordinates book so you know where to direct the rift to get home. God knows I could write a damn book about rift running at this point. I've been in this school so goddamn long. So you go across the way and run straight into Samuel.
Finally I found you. This time there will be no escape. This pathetic world will be your tomb. I will feast on your hearts, play with your intestines, and scatter the rest of you on the ground for my minions to feed upon.
I admit, I was genuinely caught off guard. I thought I was going to make it out without him chasing me some more. But yeah, he's right there when you come to claim Damien's wand. There's not really a window anywhere, so I'm not sure how he beat me up here. Since he's no longer invincible since you put the Interworld Protection Crystal back together, you can take him this time. The fight is long, but perfectly doable. I was a little disappointed at the end, though. He doesn't really say anything when he dies. There's no cutscene, no death rattle, no nothing. He just kind of falls over like a normal enemy. The music doesn't change, and he just drops the wand you're after. So much for the almighty Samuel, archdemon of the Citadel. I expected him to at least curse me or something. Oh, wait, I'm already cursed. Never mind. So with Samuel, our main villain, gone, we can open a rift to Rivellon and finally get off a Nemesis. So, using Damien's old rift wand, you open a portal and the two of you step through. But wait, it's not over yet. You emerge into a green field of Divine Divinity's Western Europe setting, and Death Knight reveals that he was Damien all along. Yeah, if you read the book and listened to anything that the Raynar in the Academy were saying, you basically figured this out way before it became relevant. I figured this out before I even left the Citadel at the very start of the game, so it really wasn't that big of a shocker for me. He takes off your Soul Forge curse so that the two of you are finally separate now. But you can't just let Damien roam free in Rivellon, so it comes down to a duel between the two of you. Alright, time to throw down. Get you some!
Incoming! Here I come! Now it's coward killing time!
Well, I couldn't hurt the guy. At all. I unloaded all my arrows into his face, and he actually regenerated health faster than I could hurt him. Turns out arrows are not very good against plate mail, not even the exploding kind. So I had to reload a previous save, go grind some more in the freaking battlefield dungeons, respec myself into a sword and shield character, and then take him on again at a higher level. Since Damien is not the Death Knight character in gaming terms, you can just take off all of his stuff before you go through the rift where he betrays you. I'm not gonna bore you with the fight. He summons little minions to mess with your stats, and you burn through about 200 health potions. Yes, 200, that's not hyperbole. Then he finally goes down. You open a new rift and shove Damien back through, and that's basically the end. The ending cutscene is just a review of all the previous cutscenes, with Damien narrating in the background.
The taste of freedom is sweet indeed. So many nights I have spent dreaming of destroying the one who imprisoned me. The one who extinguished the single candle of light in my life. I have become the darkness itself. Revenge will be mine.
I will have my revenge. Roll credits. Yeah, another sequel bait ending. Good job, Larian Studios. So final thoughts on this game. I was really conflicted with this one. It improves so much from the first game. Better menus, better setting, better story, and then bogs it down with busy work and mandatory subquests. I don't like that I have to go do a grocery list of unrelated tasks in order to progress the plot in a game. It's busy work, padding, and not fun. But I had to do almost all of them because I needed the XP and the money in order to be strong enough to take on the endgame. I clocked out at 32 hours when I finished the final boss. Take off 12 hours for the 12 battle keys that I found. Take off another 5 hours for the Raynar Academy, which is pointless busy work. And then take off another 2/3 of that for all the subquests and non-plot related content that I was forced to do to keep the game moving. And we ended up with a 5-hour storyline. Out of 32 hours. 32 hours. I was having plot-related fantasy fun for all of 5 hours. Fuck you, Beyond Divinity. Fuck you and your goddamn busy work. Any gamer will tell you that people play RPGs for the story, for the epic tale of high adventure and magic. This game is so bogged down in all the bullshit that nobody wants to do that it gets lost in its own pile of garbage. Want to help the imps? Subquests. Want to help the Raynar Rebellion? Side missions. Want to break the curse on Anlocum? Lots of errands and busy work. Want to get back to Rivellon and finish the game? Lots and lots of non-plot puzzles and bullshit. And what is wrong with the randomly generated loot system? What is this? What are these? Oh my God.
Ow! Ow! It hurts! It hurts! It hurts!
Beyond Divinity gets a 3 out of 10. A terrible game. Avoid it like the plague. God damn freaking busy work subquest garbage.
Sorry. I just got a little overexcited there. Let me reel myself in for a second. Okay. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear about the next game in the Divinity series, stay tuned. I'll have a retrospective for that game up very soon. Larian forgets how to count and begins to ignore its own lore next time with Divinity 2 Ego Draconis. See you next time, and keep gaming.